mornings for breakfast, I drinking mimosa, vodka and the Jägermeister. It's like appetizer when it throw down all of my friends, them I sober. Watch me now, I am a ambassador. I was appointed to drink rum, elected to drink rum. Hear me now, I am a ambassador. My pattern is to drink rum. Who was like, yeah, let me tell you this. I identify as a side man today. Somebody getting on, someone getting on. Every man need to watch the girl today. Someone getting on, somebody getting on. I'm gonna screech in, cross the fence. I'm gonna feed the dog a sardine, and the woman gon' let me in. And it's trouble when I get clean. And it's wap, 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 wap. You hear that? If the city for peace was a person, that would be me, one and only me. If Joe Grind was a person, that would be me. They talking about me, but I am unbothered by them, unbothered. Made money no problem, because I'm going to make them literally rise them blood pressure. I identify as a side man today. Somebody getting on, someone getting on. Every man need to watch the girl today. Someone getting on, somebody getting on.
Soca Journey, a drive through Soca.
You're listening to the coolest DJ ever. It's DJ Chili.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I like the gal who just push back over the face. Enjoying the money she spent. Take charge, baby, you in charge. Pick up the gal who just come out and polish your friend and party straight to the end. Take charge, baby, you in charge. Boy, inhale and go down in the squad. Exhale when you bring it back up. Take your time, tick like a clock. You in charge of the walking up. So set up yourself and get ready to bang. Y'all put your two hands up on your head. Balance the thing when you lift what you like. I like the gal who just push back over the face. Enjoying the money she spent. Take charge, baby, you in charge. Pick up the gal who just running, friend. I'm running the end. Take charge, baby, you in charge. You in charge, you is the boss. You in the front, doing the dog. You do the work, you get the job. Flicking your hair, sweat at the bob. Boy, what's the big, boy, how she slim thick. Boy, this gal magical and mystic. I like the gal who just push back over the face. Enjoying the money she spent. Take charge, running, you in charge. Gal who just running, friend. I'm running the end. Take charge, baby, you in charge.
Look at how good she working. She jiggle it up and she twerk it. Look how she getting on. Look at how she getting on. Behind the truck and she rolling. She's the baddest for certain. Look how she getting on. Look at how she getting on. When the rhythm drop, she starts shaking a little. Look like she vibrating a little. She doing bad. She's smirking a little. Look like she flirting a little. She whining rude. She don't stop for a minute. Man, look how she grinning. Look at she bumper rolling. Look at how good she working. She jiggle it up and she twerk it. Look how she getting on. Look at how she getting on. Behind the truck and she rolling. She's the baddest for certain. Look how she getting on. Look at how she getting on. She ain't making joke when she on the road. She does whine and go down. To one on she needs, she do what she please and nobody taking she crown. How she whining rude. Got every head spinning. She know that she winning. Look at she bumper rolling. Look at how good she working. She jiggle it up and she twerk it. Look how she getting on. Look at how she getting on. Behind the truck and she rolling. She's the baddest for certain. Look how she getting on. Look at how she getting on.
I like how that baseline rolling. You really enticing a fella. That bumper spin like a capella. Use a teaser. I like how that baseline rolling. Baby, it's you that I rather. And I don't need another. Use a teaser. Yeah. Rotate for me. Bring that bumper back carefully. Put that in the air for me. Wine on it like you care for me. Can't show me emotion, get on again. Bad guy, 10 out of 10. Wicked is wine and you don't pretend. No, I like how that baseline rolling. You really enticing a fella. That bumper spin like a capella. Use a teaser. I like how that baseline rolling. Baby, it's you that I rather. And I don't need another. Use a teaser. time, girl, I shake up the place when I wine this lady. I love how you looking, I love how you looking. Sweet, your body design in a way that will blow up my mind this lady. I love how you looking, I love how you looking. I know you own a mirror, and you can see how sweet you look. You always deliver, now drop that thing, then raise it up. Fling up a power, I'm like if you don't have a holder. The thing that good in the shots, I already told you. I like how you balance the thing in a time, girl. I shake up the place when I wine this lady. I love how you looking, I love how you looking. Sweet, your body design in a way that will blow up my mind this lady. I love how you looking, I love how you looking. Bless, you're the nicest, like the mix with sugar and spices. To tell the truth, you're the finest. I don't know where else I would find this. How you move your bumper, my girl, you do it away. I don't have to tell you again, girl. Damn, say what I say. I like how you balance the thing in a time, girl. I shake up the place when you wine this lady. I love how you looking, I love how you looking. Sweet, your body design in a way that will blow up my mind this lady. I love how you looking, I love how you looking. I'm a drinker, been drinking from morning. Strong rum is me darling, so right now I call it. I'm a drinker, then we on the vibe. No chase and no ice, cause drinking is what we love. Drink after drink, drink after drink. We feeling good and we going up. All kind of liquor inside my cup, and we can never get enough. Then we can buy some more. Make sure you don't overload. If you can't handle the thing, see it and leave it alone. I am a drinker, been drinking from morning. Strong rum is me darling, so right now I call it. I'm a drinker, then we on the vibe. No chase and no ice, cause drinking is what we love. Pour me a shot, whatever you got. Give me 2 beers, you watch them. Professional, we drink anything. You could never get me drunk. Been batting long and this innings it far from over. And you can't get me out. You could call me sober, as I'm a drinker. Been drinking for morning. Strong rum is me darling, so right now I call it. I'm a drinker. Then we on the vibe. She bump up big, she bump up fat. Permission, yes, the wine on that is how I need. Y'all whining that. Permission, get a wine. She bump up big, she bump up fat. Permission, yes, the wine on that is how I need. Y'all whining that. Permission, get a wine, wine. How you moving that waistline? Tell me how you get that do this. So how you moving that waistline with all of that attitude. This so make the bumper go down low. Make the bumper spin like whoa. On your marks, get ready, set and go. Go down, girl, girl, go down. Girl, go down. Girl go down, girl go down. Drop the anchor now. Drop it down, drop it down, drop it down. Make the thing go wrong, make go wrong, make go wrong, make go wrong. Drop the anchor now. Drop it down. Hey, the man she bump up big, she bump up fat. Permission, yes, the wine on that. Yes, I wine in. Girl whining that. Permission, get a wine. Man she bump up big, she bump up fat. Permission, yes, the wine on that. Yes, I wine in. Girl whining that. Permission, get a wine.
She don't want no tricky man. She don't want the phony man. Hey, a man without a plan. Her love, he will never land. A man with plenty gas, walk long and never finish fast, or he will end up in the past. This the past. The women coming out to party, they'll stress away, and them don't give a damn about what nobody says. But the women coming out to party and break away. Not today, go away, cause she want the rough working days. Champion, what she want? Champion, what she want? Champion, cause she want the rough working day. Champion, what she want? Champion, what she want? Champion, them want no nice man in here. They don't want no nice man in
Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and DigiChiliBarbados.com.
Yes! She calling me crazy. No, you like that. Come here. She calling me crazy. Don't stop. It's breezy. Don't stop. Don't stop. Yo, keep on me. Don't stop.
Inside a truck, not just a truck, a healer truck.
She want to get. I bet she right up on top of my truck. Fling the bumper now up and down. Watch she rolling it round and round. Tinky tinky
She like how the helix roll. She like how the front seat fold. I like how she does roll. Up and down on truck, mom. Up and down on truck, mom.
I get my inside a truck, not just a truck, a healer truck.
She want to get. She right up.
I ready? Give me it. I want it. Y'all rolling. Come girl, I ready. Give me it. I want it. Y'all rolling. Come girl, I ready.
I want you to give me from the time I step through the door. Tonight it is plenty action when we link up on the dance floor. Appetizer, entree, and main course, bring the dessert. I want all four. Last time you say you don't fear me, so I come to settle the score. So whenever.
Let's bow our heads. Remain standing, please. Let's bow our heads for a short word of prayer. Merciful Eternal Father, we want to thank Thee for a night like this where we can gather in the constituency of St. Michael Northwest. Dear Father, we come on the occasion of a new election in Barbados to select leaders who are visionary and who are able to take this country forward. And tonight, as we gather in St. Michael Northwest, in support of its candidate, Mr. Ryan Walters, may everything be done to your honor and glory. Give the speakers clarity of thought and voice as we continue tonight in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Good night, good night. Good night. St. Michael Northwest. Let me hear you, St. Michael Northwest. And those who can hear my voice, I am Alwyn Babb, your chairperson for tonight's meeting. And more or less you may know the story behind Alwyn Babb, who was a candidate in the last election. And you know what this present Barbados Labour Party tried to do to me and are still doing. I have a story to tell, but that will be for another night at another location. And if you think that this BLP has your interests, as an ordinary citizen in this country at heart, think again. They have distracted with parties. They've distracted with all kind of red color, mirroring what we're seeing in the street. But tonight, we come to St. Michael Northwest with a candidate who is able to give us a direction that we need. We have fallen off the cliff. We are not falling off. We have fallen off. And tonight, as we continue with this meeting, you're going to hear why we have to return the Democratic Labour Party to the House of Assembly and why we have to elect Mr. Ryan Walters in this constituency. Golden Acres, St. Stephen's Hill, Cave Hill, and surrounding areas. Are you ready to change? Are you ready for change? Well, then vote Democratic Labour Party. Are you ready for real representation? Vote Ryan Walters. Are you ready for real representation? Then vote Ryan Walters. Are you ready for a new direction? Are you ready for a new direction in this constituency? Vote Ryan Walters. Tonight, we are not only gathered for a public meeting, but for a movement rooted in people, purpose, passion, and progress. Welcome you to this Democratic Labour Party meeting right here in Golden Acres, St. Stephen's Hill. And when we talk about passion, I had the opportunity and the privilege of teaching Ryan Walters at Queen's College. I know his passion. And I will give you a little story before I introduce the next speaker. We were preparing for BSAT, and this is what Ryan Walters is about. Never say die. He fell off a hurdle. He was a great hurdle. So any hurdles in St. Stephen's, he can get over for you. He took an unfortunate fall and dislocated his collarbone. Now that kind of dislocation means that the season was finished. 7 days later, the man at the student that Ryan Walters was, he came back to me and told me, sir, I'm ready. I asked him, ready for what? I'm frightened. So check, Mr. Babb not want to deter the student right by the hurdle in case he falls again. But you know, to make a long story short, the passion that he had for what he is doing, Ryan Walters went to inter-school sports in 2 weeks' time and was only beaten by the gold medalist for Barbados of Carifta that year, Stephen Jones. That is the passion of what we're looking at, we're talking about tonight. So St. Stephen's Hill, Northwest, Golden Acre, I am not afraid to recommend Ryan Walters to you tonight. Go out in your numbers on February 11th and elect a new direction, a new way forward in this constituency. Tonight, we have a lineup of speakers, and we are going to hear from the young, the not so young, I'm in that category, the seasoned, who have served and who will continue to serve and who are ready to serve again. Our first speaker tonight is Mr. Odwin Skeete. He is a dedicated member of the Democratic Labour Party, a former candidate who contested the 2022 general elections in St. Andrew. You know what a tough time that was for this party. And he stepped up. He is one of the brave and committed young people who stepped up when the party was at its lowest, following the 2018 defeat. Odwin is a businessman, a farmer at heart, a true son of the soil of St. Andrew, born and raised in Lakes Village, and educated at the St. Andrew's Boys School and the Alwyn School. They call it the University of St. Andrew. Golden Acre, put your hands together and welcome Comrade Odwin Skeete to address you. Keep your applause going as he comes.
I know see where you went first, Mr. Babb. The state suffers from short man syndrome. I gotta find a way to get it work out because it's for Ryan Walters, and once it's for Ryan Walters, we gotta make it work. Got to make it work. That's what I come here to do tonight. Normally when they're in this area, Golden Acre, they really want too much distraction. They want the people to hear me clearly because it's serious business we fun tonight. Yes, please. Yes, please. All right. As I said, thank you, Comrade Babb, for the introduction. Thank you, the residents of Golden Acre. And tonight, we're here to endorse the candidacy of none other than Mr. Ryan Walters, or should I say Senator Ryan Walters. And in the last election cycle, Ryan Walters' slogan, to my mind, was up the thing. And I think it's time for the people of St. Michael Northwest, especially you here in Golden Acre, St. Stephen's Landing Scheme, and the surrounding areas, to up the thing now. It's time to move Ryan Walters, or elevate Ryan Walters from a senator to member of parliament duly elected for St. Michael Northwest. Ryan has been a consistent person within the community, and his slogan on his campaign speaks to what he's about. The 4 Ps, and I think the people of St. Michael Northwest are affiliated with those 4 Ps, because Ryan has been campaigning assiduously to ensure that he allows you to know that there's only one choice come this general election. There might be more than one candidate vying for the position, but there's one clear choice to select for that position. So in going forward, we will speak to the issues, because there are plenty of issues to speak about in this election campaign. We're not going to go the route and defame anybody. We're going to give you the facts. As the leader, Comrade Thorne, would say, honest voices for the people. And we intend to give the people honest, direct, and truthful dialogue as we beseech you and implore you to vote for the candidates of the Democratic Labour Party wherever we go. Because we want to ensure to the people of Barbados that you understand that the Democratic Labour Party in this election cycle and going forward can be counted on. We will give you the accountability that you need. And in the little bio that Mr. Babb read earlier on, he mentioned a few things about myself. And one of the things I like dearly is farming. But one of the problems I have with this administration is that we have a Minister of Agriculture who is not fully grasping the job. And I made that statement based on the fact that one of the first mistakes in my mind that the minister has made was to take up the black belly sheep of this country and send them into a foreign land to be crossbreeded with another animal and expect them to come back to Barbados as the same breed. This happened between 2021 and 2022, and the normal growth process for a lamb grown to meat stage will take between 9 months, just over a year. And if you calculate from between 2021 to 2022 up to 2026, we should have had 4 returns on animals sent to Guyana. But at this point in time, I have not seen a boat, a ship, a helicopter, not even a drone, to bring back any carcasses to show the people of Barbados that we had a successful project going on in Guyana. Now, in my opinion, and you wanted to do something tangible for the farmers, you will look firstly at the main problems facing the farmers. And one of the main problems facing black belly sheep farmers in this country is the feeding. We have to look at ways to lower feed costs. And alongside lowering feed costs, we have to look at the fact that a lot of farmers do not have adequate pasture land. They have the know-how, they have the skills, they have the experience, but the one thing missing is pasture land. So rather than sending the sheep to Guyana, like little Bo Peep, and have nowhere to find them, we should have looked at arable lands across Barbados that is out of fertile use. We can use some alfalfa grass, we can use pangola, we can use what type of grass we choose. But we should be looking at increasing the hay production in Barbados, lowering the cost for farmers that they can increase the growth and increase the population of the black belly sheep in this country. The same agriculture minister moved on, and in his exuberance he made a profound statement that he was going to export millions of sweet potatoes from this country. At a time where Barbadians, especially those of you who like our Asian delicacy, black pudding in South, or we call it nowadays, because we don't really get a lot of black pudding, now we get steamed pudding. Because in my day, black pudding was the one that was in the belly. But now we get steamed pudding, which is just in the pan. And one of the main components of steamed pudding is sweet potato. Farmers find it difficult to produce the adequate amount, especially in certain times of the year. But lo and behold, rather than trying to get the production up to satisfy the local consumption, we had a profound statement that we're going to start to export. Now, pray tell me, if you cannot meet the local demand, how are you going to export millions? Where are you getting them from? How are you going about getting them? These are questions that we really have to seriously ask these people when they come around to the area telling you that they are better for Barbados, to stay the course, that they have strong leadership. Strong leadership will require the minister looking at productive ways to increase the production. But lo and behold, we have a situation where we cannot even get molasses as we used to, because the sugar production has dwindled so much that we find it difficult in Barbados right now to actually get local sugar and molasses. For the average person, molasses used to cost $1 a gallon. Can anyone guess what the cost of a gallon of molasses nowadays? A 5-gallon bucket of molasses used to cost $5 in Barbados when the Democratic Labour Party demit office in 2018. A 5-gallon bucket of molasses in Barbados will cost you $35. Can you imagine the increase? From $5 to $35. And they are coming around telling you that they are making it better for Barbadians. We have not touched the fact that the same minister went on national radio and said to the people of Barbados that cost of living has come down significantly because 2 commodities were selling on the highways at $1 a pound. You believe this? If you ask the same minister what is the cost of those 2 commodities, he might be ashamed to answer. Because at that point in time, when there was a glut on the market, we were having these 2 commodities sold at $1. You know that those same commodities are selling at $4 and $5 a pound right now? A 400% increase. If you want to reduce the cost of living, not just by speaking it, you have to put methodologies in place. You have to look at the real problems facing the agricultural sector, the real problems facing farmers in Barbados, and put policies and programs in place to really make a dent on the food import bill in Barbados. Not going around making fanciful statements that you're going to export this product. Poultry farmers in Barbados, pig farmers in Barbados face significant problems as we speak, because there's a large influx of imported meat, and it's causing farmers of Barbados who are doing pork production serious headaches, because we're importing produce from other territories where the governments of those territories are subsidizing farming for the farmers. A few years back, we had a similar problem with the molasses because the rum producing persons of this country were facing a dilemma. And the challenge was coming from those countries whose molasses was being subsidized by their governments. And they were able to produce a cheaper product for the consumers. We entered into arrangement, the government of Barbados, I should say, entered into a short-term arrangement with the feed producers. Any right-thinking person would have known that that was a retrograde step. It was only short-term thinking for self-gratification and not long-term thinking for the productive sector and for the agricultural sector in Barbados. We have to seriously look at how we do things and not just say statements that would appease to some people and make us beat our chests like we are gorillas, but to actually make meaningful progress in this country. We all hear oftentimes about the cost of living. And I'm sure when Ryan gets here tonight and his powerful and impactful speech, he will deliver to you the message as a businessman as well about cost of living. So I'm not going to steal Ryan's thunder in that aspect. But I'll tell you this. We cannot just drive down cost of living by speaking it. You're not going to drive down cost of living by calling out the supermarkets. You're not going to drive down cost of living by just saying to the people, when 2 commodities on the highway selling at $1 a pound, that is coming down. Serious effort has to be put in place. And when we talk about the cost of living, we also have to talk about the impact that cost of living is having on our people. And the most vulnerable in this country are the youth and the elderly. The elderly are operating on a fixed income as their pension. Sometimes it comes on time, oftentimes it does not. But the fact of the matter remains that if you keep the inflation rate going up at a 2% and stagnated is the pension, you can only expect that it will move from a cost of living to a reason for dying. This is not just a figure of speech. A nation's wealth is a nation's health. The best source of food is that which you can produce. But our people, because of their low budget, have no choice but to turn to foods that enable the current situation with the chronic non-communicable diseases. And that's why we are labeled as the amputation capital of the world. Because our people will try their level best to get something to eat, notwithstanding that the food that they're consuming heavily is contributing to their demise. But what else can they do? The leaders of the country are not doing right by its own people. We are in bosom with those from foreign territories. We make grandiose appearances and grandiose statements, not conceding the fact that our people are suffering from day to day. What are we thinking about the young children? We've had 6 ministers of education, or 6 ministers in the Ministry of Education, because to my mind, they have not done a credible job to be considered the ministers of education. And you put all 6 together, and none can amount to that, the territory and of Ronald Jones. And you know what is an interesting thing? We are so fixated on cosmetic politics that rather than building out the education system and the plans to house more children and make it easy on certain institutions, we just want our name to be recognized. So you know what they did? They went to a recently opened institution, covered the existing plaque, with the person who officially opened the institution. And just wanting to get a piece of the limelight, they put a plaque below the existing one to show that they had done something by renaming a part of the institution. This is the reality we face in Barbados. And this is what we have been taught and hearing about in recent times as strong leadership. Barbadians, people of St. Michael Northwest, this is not strong leadership. This is cosmetics made up fancifully to fool and mamagal the people of Barbados. And you must say, when that time comes, we will no longer stand for this. We will choose Ryan Walters as the candidate for St. Michael Northwest, because we truly believe that Ryan Walters can do a better job. Ryan Walters can do a good job in the business and the small business sector, helping people of St. Michael Northwest, Golden Acre, St. Stephen's, and the surrounding areas, empowering them, enfranchising them as a man who has the experience and the expertise to show them what can be done, to lift them up, to bring them along and their families, not just giving them tokenism and handouts, but to give them meaningful and tangible ways to earn a decent living. I've seen recently the cost of the increase in the minimum wage. And I want you guys to listen to me carefully. Bus fare was raised from $2 to $3.50 in one fell swoop. The largest single raise of bus fare in the history of Barbados under this administration. The caring and the strong leadership administration. $1.50 was added on to the bus fare. Any person taking the bus to and from work will have to pay a minimum of $7 per day. God forbid if you have to pay 2 buses, because that increased from $14 a day. So you have 14 by 5, which is $70 in 1 week. But you have the minimum wage increase, proudly touted by the Labour Minister and others in support of him, by 21 cents. 21 cents a mass a week to just one trip a day if you were taking just one bus to and fro. Now, pray tell me, how is that something to be proud of in this Barbados in 2026? How are we, the people of St. Michael Northwest, to feel when you get up on a road tree van or grisettes to go to town, do honest work, come back, and have to feed your family, send school your children, help your grandparents and your parents? But the pay increase that you have gotten is not commensurate to the bus increase that they have gotten. They are the same ones who come to you from since 2014 October and been telling you consistently, you can't tax your way out of crisis. You can't tax your way out of crisis. But you know what this government is doing to the people of Barbados? They are not only taxing their way or trying to tax their way out of the crisis, because they're not coming out of the crisis. They are continually taxing you, increasing the taxes upon you, increasing the amount of borrowing, furthering the debt situation, and then telling you that they are better for Barbados. Now you don't know. They tell me that women are the best economists because women support the household, women go to the supermarkets, women pay the bills. So I'm asking the majority of women here tonight, and the men who do the same, are you seeing the benefits now of this administration? Have you seen better in your take-home pay? Now, one of the things that the last administration of the Democratic Labour Party was faulted for was something that the Democratic Labour Party implemented called the tax. They call it the tax. Because that's the tax that bring down, they say that bring down the Democratic Labour Party. It was not the 2% cess. It was not the exchange tax. It was a tax that was placed on all the importation of goods into Barbados on items, listen carefully, because a lot of people have misrepresented this tax. It was placed on items imported into Barbados that can be produced locally or are in production in Barbados. And it was called the municipal tax, if memory serves me correctly. But anyhow, it was placed at 10% on items imported. And lo and behold, the unions of Barbados, and while we're on the topic of unions, I don't know if there are any union reps here today, but let me tell you this. As a young boy growing up, my grandmother always tell me, the best union is mother's union. Because we have union leaders right nowadays that does little or nothing for the workers. I'm not straying too much from the point that I was making about the tax, but I see a particular union going after a franchise in Barbados assiduously, but not going after the government of Barbados for tardy work on people who they have employed to do work at the side of the streets. I have seen the laws of Barbados flouted so significantly. Because when you're operating machinery, you're supposed to wear a certain type of clothing and a certain type of shoes as safety. And the Safety Act in the workplace provides for that. But you know, lo and behold, I see people working for this administration, working machinery day in and day out, in slippers, in short pants. Now, I'm not saying to those people not to be grateful for opportunity to help yourself and feed your family. By all means, support. Once you're doing something legal, I applaud you for doing it, because we are the craftsmen of our fate. But the government of Barbados ought to be paying national insurance for those workers and ensuring that those workers have the requisite safety gear. Not a reflective vest on the backs of those people, not a safety boot, not even a water boot, not even a pair of sneakers some people have. But they're supposed to go out there and do honest work adequately for this government. And they're telling you about strong leadership. That's not strong leadership. That's a misrepresentation of what you should be doing for the people of Barbados who you claim to care about. But I get back to you on the tax. And people, along with the union, and from my understanding, I heard that people were actually paid to go and march. And the people marched the streets of Bridgetown in the midday sun. And that was said to be one of the straws that broke the camel back and brought down the Democratic Labour Party. Now I to ask you this. The tax was removed in 2018. Have anyone in Barbados between 2018 and now January 2026 seen a reduction in the prices in the markets? Have you seen a reduction in the furniture that you go to buy? Have you seen a reduction in the appliances that you go to buy? This was supposed to be the worst thing that the Democratic Labour Party could have done. It was removed with haste, but the people of Barbados had not seen any benefits. You know why? Because this tax was supposed to ensure that the persons who are bringing these items do not default on their commitment to Barbados, that they will pay these taxes up front, because the VAT that is collected to go into the Barbados coffers, into the consolidated fund, does not always meet there. I'm speaking on the topic of the VAT. We have a government that is supposed to be caring for the people of Barbados, caring for the small man, caring for the significant person on the street, caring for the elderly, caring for our youth. You know what this government did? This government wavered the value of the tax returns that were supposed to be paid. Millions of dollars. Not for the average person of Barbados, because when you go and shop, you pay your VAT immediately. But to those who had collected it, who ought to have done their fair share and paid in the VAT, did not pay in. Did not give the workers an increase either, to show that they were using it wisely. But the government of the day chose to waiver the tax. But you know what the government did? Increased and brought in solid waste tax on the average Barbadian for people who still have toilets to be paying sewage contributions. Increase the taxes at the gas pump for a man who going around trying to make a day living cutting lawns with a weed whacker. And they will come to you and tell you, the people of Golden Acre, tell you, the people of St. Stephen's, that they are better for Barbados. They have strong leadership. You know what they have? They have good PR at trying to trick the people of Barbados into believing that they're doing better for you. I say to you tonight, the people of St. Michael Northwest, they are not doing better for you. You are no better off now than you were in 2018. And if you want more evidence of that, check your purchasing power. When you go to the supermarkets, you no longer can take out 4 and 5 bags of groceries. I've sat with a lady who we consider to be the middle class. And this lady told me after she came from a store called Mindful Market. The lady told me, listen, I don't know how the average person of Barbados can make it. Because with my salary, I find it very difficult to shop. I have met with tourists who are returning visitors to Barbados. Some do 15 trips, some are in the 20th trip. And you know what some of them revealed to me? That the Barbados they fell in love with, this is no longer the Barbados. Barbados has become so costly that tourists up and down the west and south coast no longer take the hurricanes that they used to. If you look carefully, the transport buses are packed, the minibuses are packed, and there are plenty on foot patrol up and down those streets. And the evidence is there. And not only by walking, but the spend that they used to, and the restaurants, and the food shops, would I see to this. The spend that they used to make from the tourism product is no longer there. Because the cost of the things that the tourists used to buy, they can ill afford right now. And we have serious, serious problems in Barbados when it comes to tourism. We no longer get the numbers. We tout those numbers that come in as cruise ship transport passengers as arrivals, which ought not to be, because they're just in transit. Some people have not for traffic, will not even spend an hour in Barbados. But that's the reality. We just want to beat our chests and tout numbers and make things seem fanciful. So we mislead the people on a daily basis. We keep telling ourselves that once we give the people a party, once we give them a fete, once we give them some food, once we bring some entertainment, that feel-good sensation for a short time, that is all the people of Barbados want. And they can continue misrepresenting and leading Barbados down a slippery slope. Tonight, the people of St. Michael Northwest, you have an opportunity. You have a chance to do right by yourselves and your children and your children's children. You have to go out on February the 11th and vote for no other than Ryan Walters. You have to elevate Ryan Walters from Senator Ryan Walters. You have to ensure that Senator Ryan Walters become Member of Parliament for St. Michael Northwest. Come 6 p.m., on February the 11th, you can celebrate with Ryan Walters. You can be assured that your children will be well represented. You can be assured that the children that you have will be taken care of. You can be assured that they will have a representative they can count on. You can be sure that you can have someone you can feel proud about when you see your member of parliament walking up the stairs of parliament. Because you know, and you can be sure that where Wallace enter parliament, he will not only speak for the Democratic Labour Party, but he will speak on the interests of the people of Golden Acre, St. Stephen, St. Michael Northwest, and Barbados on a whole. Because where Waters intend to bring good representation, not only to you, but the entire land of Barbados. Because Barbados depends on Ryan Walters. Barbados depends on you, the people of Golden Acre and St. Michael Northwest, to elect Ryan Walters so that Barbados can have that leadership that we need. Strong leadership results in electing Ryan Walters for St. Michael Northwest. Thank you, good night, and may God bless you.
Since I'm moving, one day I'll pay. Since I'm moving, since I'm moving, since I'm moving, since I'm moving, one day I'll pay. Since I'm moving, since I'm moving, yellow is the code, determination the mode. Young them's rise up, we carrying below. Future in we hands, Barbados we see. Since I'm moving, jump on the DLP. Since I'm moving, there we push the bus. One DLP, moving on with us together.
Moving with Ryan Walters in Northwest. I want to thank Odwin Skeete for his wide-ranging address. And I can't zero in on so many things. I just want to zero in on one area. I am a school teacher by profession. And he mentioned education. We went from reform to transform, and then we went to a big bang. And up to today, as I speak to you, nobody has demonstrated on that side any strong leadership as it relates to education. You see this BLP? They are good with buzzwords and catchphrases. They know they have been trained to whip up a crowd. They have taken the dictionary and they have decided what will catch the attention. But when you look deeper, there's no substance. We still know in Barbados that education is the vehicle for the progress of all of our children. And if we have a government and a party that has treated education the way it has, it is time to get rid of them. It is time to elect Ryan Walters in Northwest, in St. Michael Northwest. If you are not pleased about what is happening in your community or in the country, do not stay home on February 11th. Head to the polling station you are assigned to. Vote Ryan Walters. Vote for a new direction in St. Michael Northwest. Tonight we told you we have a lineup of candidates, young, not so young, and seasoned. And tonight we are going to bring a seasoned campaigner to speak to you. James Paul is a faithful member of the Democratic Labour Party. Faithful member. And served as a member of Parliament for St. Michael West Central from 2003 to 2018. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Society, where he continues to advocate for farmers across the island, champion policy changes, food security, training, technical assistance, and the annual AgriFest. And let me say clearly tonight, James Paul, we need you to be returned as the member of St. Michael West Central on February 11th. Golden Acre, St. Stephen's Hill, join me and welcome Comrade James Paul to the microphone.
Thank you very much. Good night to the residents of Golden Acres, and of course to the constituents of St. Michael Northwest. Now, this is a very important election. An election in which we have, as a people, to redefine Barbados. We have, as a people, to recognize that every level of intimidation will be used in order to effect a result. Now I say to you, we talk glibly in this country about democracy. We talk about the fact that we feel that you should have freedom of expression. Yet, in every way, by our actions, and when you look and see what is happening in this country sometimes, are we really serious about that? Look, I know that in the opposition, there, and you will see these massive crowds being shown in some cases. But do you know something? And I want to say to Barbadians, do not let yourselves be bought. And I'm being very frank. We talk with soft voices about the whole question of buying votes in this country. We talk in very soft voices about the mobilization. Do you forget when it was time for people to protest against the Democratic Labour Party? Don't forget, you know, there was a situation where they had to rely on paid labor to force their workers out to get there. Understand what is happening in our country today. When you see these crowds, it is meant to intimidate you. And I know people have come to me and said that they are paid sometimes to come to political meetings. They are also paid to come to these nominations. When you see these large crowds, they are being paid. But do not get intimidated, because what they want to do is to impress upon you numbers. But Barbadians, I want to say to you, your vote is not for sale. Your decision on who will represent you should not depend on who will offer you the biggest buck. Because what they are doing is putting a price on you. That is what they are doing. And I want to appeal to you tonight, and that's the first thing I want to say to you. Do not let yourselves be sold. Look, we have a situation in this country today where they are claiming that they have improved on everything that we did as the Democratic Labour Party. And I just want to, I noticed my comrade, Mr. Stephen Lashley, was in the thing, one of the best ministers of sports, he's there, and culture. He's there. But the point I'm trying to make is this. We tried to ensure that what we had to do, we did it to the best of our ability. And I am saying, in Ryan Walters, you have a young man who, when we lost in 2018, came forward to the fore. He didn't hide. He has shown that he values you as an individual. And I want to show you what I'm talking about. That decision that you make as to who will vote for you, as I said before, should not be based on who can give you the biggest buck on the day. Because when a man gives you $100 or whatever on the day, he's done, that's a transaction. And that is not what politics is about. Politics is about putting someone there who will be with you throughout and in, through every storm, through every difficulty. Someone who will be available. When you look and see what is happening, we have pretenders to the throne. We have people who pretend to represent you. And when you look at some of the projects that are being introduced today and the decisions that are being taken, clearly it is not with the interests of Barbadians in mind. You look and see the last most atrocious one I want to say to you. When decisions could be taken in the dead of night in Parliament, which benefits people who don't even look like you, who give at the same time, we have people in this country who need assistance and who need help. Look, today, just today in my constituency, in fact, I've been doing some weeks, but there's some weeks now, we have situations where ordinary men and women in this country to which at least some care should be given cannot get it. How can we sit down as Barbadians and tolerate a situation where a man goes to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, or woman, as the case may be, and have to sit down for over 24 hours, sometimes 36, and can't see a doctor in this day and age? Yet, hold on, yet, we spend money jollificating ourselves on what? On feeling good, on gatherings. Is that fair? How could we as a people live good with ourselves and any conscience and say that is a good party? How can we do that? How can we not recognize that our young men, our young women in this country are at risk? Why are they at risk? Because of the fact that the country of itself is not giving them the type of inspiration, the type of hope that says to them, we have a future in Barbadians. How can we look at Barbadians and say to them, if you can't find work here, leave, go somewhere else and look for work? We have a responsibility to every single Barbadian living here. Why are you forcing Barbadians to pack up and have to go to other lands for work? You don't have any rights now. Why is it only the rich and famous can come to Barbados and feel comfortable? Yet, ordinary people like us cannot. Our children are forced to leave. And we here in this country getting on as if everything is fine, that the choice that we have to make on February 11th does not redefine us as a nation and take us down a particular direction. Understand, for every single time that we support these type of things, we are denigrating ourselves. We are saying to people that we don't value we are just down to one transaction. Name it, and we will sell our grandmothers at that rate. How can we do this? People, I'm saying to you, it is young men like Brian Waters who come to the fore, who represent certain principles that we have to stand behind. And when you go on February 11th to the polls, it is not about bargaining, and that is what they do, you know. Look at it. It's not about bargaining about who have on the best shoes, who put out the most money, or whatever, or who get biggest long necks. It is about a serious thing where you're choosing on someone who is deciding on your children, your future, and your children's future. Look, we look at our schools today. Look at what is happening in our schools. The Minister of Education recently admitted literacy is a problem in this country today. But you see, we like to focus on the nice things because what is happening is that we like to deal with the poster guy, the guy that look good, but the guy that look good don't reflect everybody else. Here's only one among a million. What about the rest? What about the rest? That in order to make a living, they have to resort to all kinds of things, and we call ourselves a loving people. When you vote, you have to decide on these things. These are the hard facts. How can you be satisfied when you see certain people come into this country and get treated the best, get whatever they want, fast track, and you, a Barbadian living here, pay taxes, and you have to go and beg and feel, oh, Mr. Minister, help me. And let me say this to you. When we come as politicians, sometimes people get the wrong idea, you know. In every community in this country, all of us have talents to move that community forward. And you know, my ideals were born in the cooperative movement. And in cooperatives, you know what they tell you? Empowering that individual to be the best that they can be, and recognize that every human being in this country has a talent and he has a contribution to make. What we, as politicians and as representatives of the people, have to do is to awaken that talent within you. But you know what? They do the trick, yo. They come and say, I see big man. I see anybody can do it. So when it happens, you know, you get them the idea, no? You give them the idea. Do you believe the Prime Minister could do what she does just so? All she does is somebody repeat. You know, some people, you tell us something and they repeat. That is all it's about. The thing that they come up with the idea themselves. They got to come to you, the people of Barbados. And I am saying to you, those are the type of people that you need to elect to the House of Assembly, not somebody who feels that everything stops with them and that we should not try to enlist the latent talents of Barbadians to try to address the difficult times that we face. Look, when we left office, they claimed that the debt in this country was a problem. They say we borrowed too much money. What constrained our administration at the time was making that difficult decision. If we go to the IMF, there were some hard things that had to be done. Anyhow, the people of Barbados decided on our fate, fine. What has this administration done? They have quadrupled the debt. Don't mind all the talk. The debt has increased. And if you factor in the fact that people in this country had to take a haircut, you know that? On bonds, you all know that, right? And yet, we have so-called economists in this country saying, oh, they did an excellent job. But they have not talked about the fact that Barbadians have undergone pain. To the point where now today, that the debt is now backed up to 130% of GDP. And yet we're saying, oh, an economic miracle is happening in this country. That's what we're saying. And not only that, our main productive sectors are being compromised. Because the fact of the matter is this: tourism is not delivering the goods for this country. And I want to say this: tourism is not delivering the goods for this country, as you are being led to believe. And look, all you got to do to prove that is to watch it. One time in this country, when tourism used to play a good role, Whenever you see March hit, the central bank reserves used to bump up in the air. Nowadays, you ain't seeing nothing so. And not only that, one time, when the tourists come, you used to see US dollar knocking dog. People are not realizing in communities the benefits from tourism as they used to. As a matter of fact, tourism worldwide is becoming a worn product. But I am saying to you that the Democratic Labour Party, through different policies which we started, by trying to involve communities, ordinary people, can extract more from the tourism product. But you know what it means, so? Ownership of the product must rest more with Barbadians. Look, you remember the debate on Uber? You all remember that debate? Look, this is very plain, you know. The argument is this. It's not people saying that we don't need a service like that. The point is that it shows you that if we could think, the only imagination that we have, that the only way a service like that could be provided is if it comes from abroad. That is the lack of imagination. We don't see that we don't have enough people trained in this country that could provide the same service that Uber is going to provide. And you know what it means? The money is staying here in Barbados and then going back up in Washington and them places. The profits going in a bank or credit union here. So you know what that means then? More Barbadians will benefit. Instead, our government advanced the notion, oh, our Bajans don't have the skills to do something like that. In a country in which we are investing so much in education, I want you to understand what I'm saying. I ask you the question, who have more faith in who? The Democratic Labour Party has historically, by its actions, demonstrated that they believe, once given the opportunity, Barbadians have the ability, yes, to punch the weight above the weight, not only the Prime Minister, every single Barbadian. Once given the opportunity. And we have betrayed that trust. I ask you, people of St. Michael Northwest, restore the trust. Restore the trust. Vote for a young man who clearly understands that trust. Ryan Walters has shown by his comments in many cases that he understands the type of contribution that local Barbadian businesses can make to this economy. He is not one that you don't know where he stands on the whole question of developing local businesses. And I'm saying to you, on February the 11th, you have an opportunity to help him, to help you. Anyone that listen to my voice right now, who has a small business, will not hesitate, but vote for Ryan Walters and the Democratic Labour Party. Because you know why? One of the things that we have shown, that we don't lose faith. Because look, one of the things that we have to understand as a people, a business goes through issues, goes through problems. And because a business fails, it is no reason for you to turn your back on it. It is no reason for you to say, look, man, you tried this thing, done with that. I don't want to see you no more. And instead invite some foreign interloper from outside who you know nothing about and tell him you go ahead. And sometimes, in doing that, you have to pour out the same measure of assistance to him. Businesses learn iteratively. In other words, they learn through trial and error. But one of the things that we have to learn, that when a business fails, we have to be able to give them a helping hand to get back up. But we are failing to do these kind of things. And you know what? The Barbados Labour Party says to our people, you are good for going and put on grass skirts, and what is called the grass skirts and the things that has waved, what the surroundings, whatever it is, when the tourists coming, put on the grass, you're good for that. But when it comes to owning, being part of the critical economic drivers of this country, no, you ain't good enough for that. And you can see, only certain people are called there, you know. Only certain people. Ladies and gentlemen, again I say to you, these are the major challenges. And I want to say, on February 11th, Ryan Waters embraces that type of philosophy of helping Barbadian businesses. And I want to say to you, on February 11th, St. Michael Northwest, you have no choice but to give a young man the opportunity to do what is required in order to develop this country of ours, and of course in Michael Northwest. And thank you all very much, and God bless you.
For my challenge, Waters is who we need. For the representation, we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Waters, Ryan Waters. For the representation, we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Waters, Ryan Waters. Ryan bringing purpose and passion, so progress gotta happen. Yes, it's purpose and passion, so progress gotta happen. Purpose and passion, so progress gotta happen. Purpose and passion, so progress gotta happen. WALTERX, that's the man for St. Michael Northwest.
James Paul, you see what experience and vision can articulate to you tonight. And that is what the Democratic Labour Party is about. And I want to highlight something to you. I know that most of you recalled what happened in Checker Hall. When we saw and we witnessed, if you weren't there, you probably saw it on video. What our young people were encouraged to do. Could you imagine if something like that had happened on a DLP platform? Or like now in Barbados, we would have been asked to step out the elections. We would have been asked to stop contesting. Parents would have been called from all around Barbados. And we would have been vilified. We have child advocates. We have priests. We have teachers. We have the PTA at all levels calling for parents in Barbados to institute regulations on how children use social media. Monitor what they're exposed to. Even on television, we have TV ratings. And we have a political party that created the opportunity for our children to behave badly. Is that the kind of government that we want to go forward with? Is that the kind of government that we want to go forward with? Where your children are not safe. Tonight, I am calling for the Barbados Labour Party that when they put out their advertisements, when they put out their videos, when they put out their posters for meetings, do like the TV ratings. Either tell us that they're X-rated and our children aren't coming, or PG-13. Voters, you have to take a serious task on February 11th. Do not play around with this BLP anymore. They won in 2022 in the middle of COVID because people were disenfranchised. I'm going to speak about that later. You cannot afford to stay home. You are heavily taxed. Wages and salaries cannot afford to buy anything in the supermarket. And I want to tell all those people who are running around in red shirts and then bragging about the big mouth drinks. Then the party and the fests are over. Then all the election spending is over. Rest assured, because I have been accustomed, tell me if you are not have been accustomed, on the eve of the election, that you would have heard the estimates, and the party in power would have taken the opportunity to give us a budget. You remember when we raised one in, you remember the year that was? But we have a situation in Barbados. You don't find it funny that this government ain't bring a budget? And I can tell you why. We hear about the program. Anytime you hear about programs, anytime you hear about austerity measures, anytime you hear about that, the butt falls at us. The pressure is on those persons who are at the lower end. So then this is over. Taxes, heavy measures, and if you think that the cybercrime bill is over, is put away, they dust it off. It won't catch much dust because they have it there waiting. The one that they bring to people in your house to monitor everything you say and everything you do, they're coming for you. You can't stop them, said Michael Northwest. I want you to vote from morning till night on February 11th for the DLP. And vote Ryan Walters right here in this constituency, said Michael Northwest. Do not play with your future. Do not play with your children's future. James Paul said just now they borrowed billions. And you know what borrowed billions have done for our children and your children? They have mortgaged the future of our children who will be saddled with that debt. We have to put a stop to this. And tonight you can start by deciding wherever you are in your house that your children mean a world to you. And vote for Ryan Walters in St. Michael Northwest. Now, comrades, we told you about the young, and we have a young lady tonight. I'm trying to get her in. She's very young. We're looking at her there now. She is very young. Let me just find where I'm at. Right. Janine Butcher. Here we have it. She is a Barbadian youth leader, a political advocate, serving as the president of the Young Democrats, the youth arm of the Democratic Labour Party. And I want to say something to you. When James Paul said to rent a crowd, did the thieves things too. They came up with seats and movement. I heard it in St. Joseph. I heard it in Westbury. Empty head people taking up everything. And they criticize, yes, they criticize. They sent out their stooges and their influencers when it first came out to do all kind of things. But they could not get it done. And Janine is one of the persons who was behind that. Seeks and Moving. She is also the founder of Youth Ignite Weekend, an international youth initiative bringing together young people from around the world to empower leadership, collaboration, and national development. Janine brings youthful energy and fire to everything she does. Golden Acre, St. Stephen's Hill. Let us welcome with your loudest applause, Comrade Janine Butcher.
Good night, St. Michael Northwest. It is indeed a pleasure to be here to endorse the candidate Ryan Walters. To the residents of this proud constituency, our families, and especially the young people who came out tonight, I want to say thank you. As the president of the Young Democrats, it is good to be here, proud to represent a generation that is not waiting for the future. We are the future, and the time for action is now. And tonight, I bring to you one simple message. BIM first. Not politics, not empty promises, not excuses. BIM first simply means putting Barbadians first. Now let's be real. Our young people are struggling. Opportunities are limited. Graduates are leaving here or being told to leave to go to another place to work. Entrepreneurs are just fighting to survive. Families are under pressure from the rising cost of living. And communities are frustrated. Let's not talk about the bus system. A service that is poor. A service that people depend on every single day. It is slow, unreliable, and you just can't get a bus when the day comes. And that is unacceptable in Barbados. Putting BIM first means fixing our public services and not privatizing them. Making them reliable, efficient, and built for people, not just for politics. Young people, listen closely. In 2017, and I see him here tonight under the leadership of Stephen Lashley, we created a national youth policy here in the Democratic Labour Party, a roadmap to expand education, skills, and opportunities to young Barbadians. But what has happened since? We haven't heard anything about it. It is not being used. And young people are just still waiting for opportunity day after day. That is why we say BIM first. We need real jobs, real opportunities, real support for young people. Young people who want a future right here at home in Barbados and not elsewhere. We need training that actually leads to work and not just photo ops. Because when our youth succeeds, Barbados succeeds. Families, mothers, fathers, seniors, hardworking people here tonight, you cannot be ignored. The cost of living is rising. Bills are getting higher each and every single day. But we say tonight that BIM first means families that are supported, communities that thrive, and leadership that listen, acts, and delivers. And you'll be sure to get it here in this constituency with Ryan Walters. Now let's start the truth. This current government, this BLP government, has walked back policy after policy after policy. They play with our livelihoods. They make promise after promise as well. And they are leaving the ordinary Barbadian behind. And tonight I say that they are right and ready to leave office. And you need to put the Democratic Labour Party back into Parliament. And we are here tonight to make that happen. By using our voices, our energy, and most importantly, our votes. Young people, I say to you that this is your moment. Too many have been told, oh, you're too young, your vote doesn't matter. Wait your turn. But I say no. I'm telling you that your vote is your power. Your vote will bring change, and your vote is your future. If you sit at home on February 11th, nothing will change. If you wait, if you complain, if you let others decide your future, that will not be the right thing to do. We cannot wait, we must act, and we must vote. And when you go to vote, there is a choice that matters for this constituency. There is a leader who listens, who understands people's struggles, and who is ready to serve with heart, commitment, and purpose. And that man is a man of the people, and he is Ryan Walters. Ryan Walters does not just talk, he stands with the community. He understands the challenges that families face. He feels your frustrations. He feels what young people feels. And he represents us very well, I must say. And he supports us each and every day, even within the Democratic Labour Party. Ryan Walters believes in putting Barbados first. And he understands it's not just a slogan or any pretty talk or nothing for photo ops. And he's not here to fake any moves around you either. He will fight for you. He will fight for better opportunities for the youth. He will fight for stronger support, stronger families, improved services, and safer communities right here in St. Michael Northwest. Let's talk about opportunity. Too many young people feel that there's no path for them here. They feel forced to leave to succeed. Y'all heard Wilfred Abrams, right? This cannot be our story. BIM first means every young person must have a fair chance to build a future right here at home in Barbados and right here in St. Michael Northwest. Jobs that pay, training that works, supports for entrepreneurs, community programs that uplift and guide. And that's why we need to take action. Our families, our parents, our seniors, we encourage you to come out to vote. Ryan Walters will do support for schools, support for healthcare, affordable living. You have heard him in Parliament already advocating on your behalf. So imagine when he's your parliamentary representative. This election is about direction. It is about progress versus stagnation. It is about hope versus future. It is about action versus excuses. And this BLP government has shown that they cannot and would not deliver. They have walked back policy after policy. They play with our livelihoods. They have failed too many Barbadians to continue. St. Michael Northwest, I say that this is our chance to change that. This is our chance to walk them out. This is our chance to ring in the Democratic Labour Party government. So I'm calling on every single person here tonight. Talk to your neighbors, your families, your friends. Bring them out to vote. Make sure that everyone knows that February 11th, vote for Ryan Walters. Let's take that action. Let us move together. Let us fight together for real opportunities for the youth, for reliable public service, for stronger families and safer communities, for leadership that delivers and listens as well. I want to say tonight that if you believe in putting BIM first, then put your X in St. Michael Northwest next to Ryan Walters. Vote for the Democratic Labour Party. Let's put BIM first. Have a good night.
Scrambling, cause they know they have not done very well. Yeah, the bees hustling, the bees boasting, yeah. But the cost of living got me catching hell. Yeah, they're trying to patch the patches in the roads and delivering plenty lives by the loads. They now promising beach access when all along it was causing us stress. We don't want the bees no more. We don't want the bees no more. This pause and walk back government has to go. Yeah, we saying please no more. God knows we can't take no more. These inefficient imposters have to go. Yeah, the bees running, the bees balling, yeah, cause their internal pollen was very bleak. The bees hurt.
Yes, thank you, Janine. Always a voice for the youth of Barbados. And I just want to acknowledge, just look either right or left and you're going to see the next representative of St. Michael Northwest. He's somewhere there in the crowd. Ryan Walters. And there is some person celebrating the birthday. Angie? Angie, where are you? Happy birthday to you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as we hold this meeting in support of Ryan Walters, I speak to you, are you aware that there are fellow citizens, possibly your brother, your sister, your mother, your aunt, your uncle, grandmother or grandfather, who will not be able to vote in this election? You mean to tell me, after declaring that you will never call or will not call an election in the middle of the pandemic, That is exactly what we got. And here in 2026, we are hearing issues raised about the voters' lists. Where possible, thousands of persons, possibly thousands of voters, will not be able to exercise their right. Are we going to remain silent in the face of the right to vote? Are we going to remain silent as the right to vote is stripped away from us? Anybody saw the interview by the PM? I saw it. What I took from it is that she is fully aware of the errors, irregularities with the list. But you know what she also is aware of? It is not in the interest of her party to have a large voter turnout. And the worst thing any government can visit upon its people, the greatest sin to visit upon a nation, is to frustrate and to create a situation of disenfranchisement. After all the bloodshed, after all we witness around the world, where people gave their life for this right, we have a government that people are expressing concern, and we are supposed to be satisfied with a word salad which says, oh, I am bringing people to observe. Observe thousands of people not voting. But if I don't have the opportunity to vote, don't tell me why I'm standing around a polling station. I want all the people of Barbados to dismiss this by turning out in your thousands, those of us who are eligible to vote. And I want you to go back and check, because they said that the final list will be ready by the 31st of this month. Please, if you check already and it's there, check again. You hear what I tell you? Do not play. And we are dealing with a lot of egos. And what I heard in that speech is a person who, knowing that these things exist, and is not prepared in the election to concede ground to the opposition leader. She gonna go down fighting. I wrong, but I going down fighting. That is not in the best interest of the people that she wants to represent. I am saying to you, you got away with it in 2020, not in 2026. If it takes for all of us who are on the list to go and vote a protest vote in this election, this is the time. So I'm calling all the persons in this constituency to look at the only choice. There may be more than one candidate, but the only choice that you have in this election, because of all the things I've outlined to you this evening, is Ryan Walters. Now I'm going to introduce you to another seasoned person. And I just want to say something. I'm still a budding coach, but I had the opportunity. We have not received our Olympic gold medal, so I still have to work. Right. And I had the opportunity of representing Barbados at the Commonwealth Games by being the coach of the Barbados netball senior team. That is, if you can remember, there was a headline saying 7th Heaven, the best performance by a team playing netball with young ladies. We went into that game 10 goals down against Trinidad, our rivals, our Caribbean rivals. 10 goals down, 15 minutes to go. Our backs to the wall. I remember Mr. Stephen Lashley leaning over his chair. You got it covered? I look back, I say, yes. We went on and won that game. Stephen Lashley was there as an inspiration to all of the sports persons in Barbados. We have a sports minister who turns up at the airport. But we have a sports minister who travels around the world and makes his presence felt. He could have been there and he could have been sitting in the VIP section, but he was right behind the team bench. And tonight, let me formally introduce him. Stephen Lashley is a former Minister of Family, Youth, Sports, a former Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth. He served as a Member of Parliament for Christchurch Central from 2008 to 2018. During his tenure, he spearheaded landmark initiatives, including the Cultural Industries Development Act, Barbados First, and still only national policy, youth policy, and the national sports policy. He is a senior counsel, third vice president of the Democratic Labour Party, and a tireless mentor to the young Democrats and party members across the island. Stephen Lashley has stood firm. He has not relented. Golden Acre, St. Stephen's Hill, please welcome Comrade Stephen Lashley, Senior Counsel, member of the Democratic Labour Party, to address you.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. And I want to say a good night to all of you, including the residents of Golden Acres, and of course the residents of the surrounding areas in this constituency of St. Michael Northwest. I'm very happy to be here tonight to endorse Ryan Walters as the next Member of Parliament for this constituency. And after that very glowing endorsement, I'm also here to say that I am standing firm tonight. I'm standing firm tonight in defense of the record of the Democratic Labour Party in this constituency. I'm also standing firm tonight in defense of the proud record of Ryan Walters, who continues to work exceedingly hard for Barbados. And I find it is fitting that we have come to Golden Acres tonight in this, one of the heartlands of Barbados, in this space where we have one of the most productive housing areas in Barbados, where residents used to enjoy the policy of the Democratic Labour Party, where we declared that after you have been in occupation of your unit for 20 years, that it will be yours free of cost. And tonight, I'm really ashamed to say that when the Barbados Labour Party came to office, it brought a sudden end to that policy. It brought a sudden end to that policy of empowering Barbadians. And that's where we are tonight. We are here on the cusp of an election that is talking about the empowerment of Barbadians. And you who are hearing me have to ask yourself how empowered you feel tonight. Whether you have been empowered over the last 7 years, whether your circumstance has been improved or made worse by the Barbados Labour Party. This is a serious election that we are dealing with in 2026. It is one of the shortest election periods in the history of Barbados. And it is no secret why it is short and why we are having an election in Barbados in January of 2026. I believe the government still has another 1.5 years to go in its term. But we are facing a poll, and I tell you, we are facing a poll that the entire Democratic Labour Party is ready to fight. And we are not relinquishing that. I said in another place that this election has so many issues that we can deal with. And tonight I want to deal with some of them. I dealt with one earlier in relation to the removal of our policy of empowering Barbadians to own their housing units. And I want to not stray away from that, because that is going to be essentially my theme tonight, how the Barbados Labour Party has disenfranchised Barbadians. Now, you had the power to own your unit. There's still many people who are saying that they have not been able to get their conveyances to their units. But still we have a government that is telling you that it cares about you. It cares about Barbadians. But in this constituency, there are people who are not being looked after. And I want to remind you of some things, because this government has no excuse at all. In fact, earlier tonight, I heard the governor of the central bank giving a report about the economy. I find it interesting because, and I must say, if I am wrong, you can correct me, but I am not remembering the governor of the central bank bringing an economic report to Barbadians in January before. But I said if I'm wrong, then I stand to be corrected. But I recall that this is the first time that I've heard the governor of the central bank bringing an economic report in January. And it so happens that, of course, he's speaking to Barbadians in the middle of an election campaign. And I believe that if I were the governor, I would have waited until the end of the election to bring the report, because he will still be the governor when the Democratic Labour Party is voted into office. He wouldn't be moving. He's still the governor. After election, everybody remains in their office, notwithstanding what the government does. So he could have still brought that report at the end of the campaign, but to bring it in the middle of a campaign, I believe is not in good taste. But even if we take the report at what it says, you know, we were castigated, and I heard James Paul referring to it, because we were castigated for our debt in Barbados. I did not hear the governor speak to the debt position of the country. Because if you do a Google search, you will see that they have a breakdown in relation to the public debt and how much each Barbadian is indebted in relation to that public debt. But we have grown a massive public debt. And I believe if you look around and ask yourself what we have to show for that debt, you will not be able to find many things that Barbadians have to show for the huge debt that we have amassed. Whether or not that has resonated and has created any improvements in the standard of living is a big question to be asked. I still hear Ryan Walters complaining that the roads in this constituency have not been improved. I believe he said that only one road has been improved. I think Freehill. Is it Freehill? So we have not had any real improvements in the road network in this constituency. But yet still we have a massive debt that has to be repaid by you and me and our children and grandchildren. And I want to make some anomalies tonight, because when the government came to office, it came to office having castigated the Democratic Labour Party of having too large a cabinet. We were told that we had too large a cabinet and that we should reduce the cabinet in the interest of saving the public expense. And you would have thought that having walked the lengths and breadths of Barbados, that the Barbados Labour Party would come to office and reduce the size of the cabinet. But what did they do? They created the largest cabinet in the history of Barbados. And with the largest cabinet comes increased cost. So you have some ministers of the government who really have nothing to do. They have nothing to do except draw a salary. And we go further and say that I hope you remember some of the other things that they did. Because if they had the interests of Barbadians at heart, saving taxpayers' dollars and improving the lot of Barbadians, then you will see it by their actions. So they came into office and they employ some of the largest number of consultants that we've ever had. All of the supporters that they could muster in the Barbados Labour Party receive a consultancy. And you and I are having to pay for that consultancy. But I want to speak to something else, because one of the issues that Ryan has raised in this constituency is that we need to have more attention paid to improving the housing of persons. Housing has always been a big policy issue for the Democratic Labour Party. We came into office and we pledged the Barbadians we will improve the lot of Barbadians in terms of owning a house. Improving housing. And I have no doubt that come the 11th of February, based on the policies and programs that have been enunciated by the Democratic Labour Party, that we will again return to the issue of improving the housing of each and every Barbadian. Because housing is a big issue for us. It's a big issue in this constituency. But what have we seen under the Barbados Labour Party? We have seen promises about housing, and you know, I decided to pick up a report by the Auditor General about a project called HOPE. Have you heard of HOPE? You know, the Auditor General had a special audit done on the HOPE project. And you would hear our leader, Ralph Thorne, you would hear Ryan Walters lamenting the millions of dollars that have been wasted on the HOPE project. And when they speak, you would think that based on the responses coming from the Barbados Labour Party, that Ralph Thorne and Ryan Walters only trying to stir up trouble in Barbados. That they're talking about the HOPE project when there's nothing that was done untoward in relation to the HOPE project. And I decided to spend a few minutes tonight to tell you a bit what I found about the HOPE project in the special audit of the Auditor General. And do you know that we have moved into an election without the Barbados Labour Party giving a proper account to Barbadians about the HOPE project? But the Auditor General, and as you know, the Auditor General is an independent office under the Constitution of Barbados. So they can't get away and get rid of the Auditor General. But in that report, which I will only briefly deal with because it deals with so much. That report deals with so much, it is amazing. I read in that report that the government is still to account to Barbadians for in excess of $60 million that has been blown away in that project called the HOPE. Interestingly enough, you had a number of very clear objectives when that project started. the government came to Barbados and said it has a number of very clear objectives. A lot of them had to do with transparency, accountability, and so on. Because those are the buzzwords that are used by the Barbados Labour Party. They will tell you that they will be accountable. They will tell you that they will be transparent until you start looking through the fine words. Until you start investigating and looking to see whether or not they really have been transparent and accountable. But you have the Hope Project that has been dealt with in the special audit report. And the government is yet to give an account for over $60 million of taxpayers' money. What makes it worse though, the General found that there was hardly any accountability in that project. I will mention one of the spaces that they're earmarked for housing, and it was referred to recently by our leader Ralph Thorne. They started a project in Poole in St. John. You heard about that one? They started a project on the Hope in Poole in St. John. The Auditor General said that houses were built, at least structures were built. I don't think any houses are completed. Structures were built out of precast concrete. And mind you, the Auditor General found that in that project, no proper analysis was done to determine if precast concrete was going to be cheaper or more expensive than block work. But you know that they use precast concrete that costs taxpayers even more money than block work. So the story goes on. In Poole in St. John, the government started a housing project without having any planning permission from the Town and Country Planning Department. That project was started without planning permission. And I know that nobody here in Golden Acres can start any housing project or construction or add on to your housing unit without getting permission from town planning. So that project was started without the permission of the town planner. And worst of all, the contractors that were used in that project, and in fact all the projects on the Hope, were not properly vetted. The Auditor General found that out of the in excess of 30 or so contractors, about 16 of those contractors in the entire Hope project failed to complete the work they had to do. Failed to complete the work. In fact, when you look at the Auditor General report, and not even talking about Poole on its own, because there were several areas that the Hope project touched across Barbados. And Lancaster, for example. So having paid millions of dollars to people, contractors, the government had to go and regig those housing structures because they found that they were not done properly. So I'm saying tonight that Hope project, there's nothing that has been said, nothing that has been criticized about the Hope project that has not been true. So if you had to think of how much $60 million can do, I look around here and you still have housing units that need repairs. So the residents of Golden Acres need to have their housing units repaired. And yet still you can have a government that can pick up over $60 million, waste it, and fail to attend to the needs of the residents of Golden Acres and others. So I say to you tonight, those of you within the sounding of my voice, that come the 11th of February, I want you to remember the millions of dollars that the government has wasted on the Hope project that could have been used. That could have been used to fix the roads in St. Michael Northwest. That could have been used to fix the housing units. That could have been used to give people housing lots. And I want you that when you go into that polling station, remember those things. And remember one name. Who will come to your aid? The name of Ryan Walters. And I feel that Ryan has shown you the kind of individual that he is. He's very down to earth. He's always among the people. You know him and he know you. So when you hear in this election a lot of talk, what I call long talk, this election is about the Barbados Labour Party accounting for those 7 years. They're on trial. The Democrat Labour Party is not on trial. The Barbados Labour Party is on trial. And I heard my colleague James Paul talking about some of the tricks that they use. You know, I am from St. John, so I know quite a lot of the tricks that the Barbados Labour Party would use, because I heard the Prime Minister say at the start of this campaign, and she used a very soft voice when she was saying it, because she said that she has called this election. She believes they have done what they're supposed to do. But then she said, but you know what? I believe and we know that the real masters are the people. And therefore we are going to wait for the people to make their decision. Now you know that's the first time in the 7 years of the Barbados Labour Party I've heard her say that they believe that the true masters are the people. Because all along we were told and we were given the experience that the real masters are the Barbados Labour Party. Because you had a government. In fact, I don't know if many people in Barbados are aware of the numerous pieces of legislation that have been pushed through the parliament without even consulting with you, the people. So you've had that happen in Barbados. And I was talking about my St. John experience because I want you to understand what's going to happen in this election. What I can tell you is that the Democratic Labour Party will be dealing with the issues. And very early in this campaign, our leader, Ralph Thorne, came to the country with a vision program. We didn't just start criticizing the Barbados Labour Party. We recognize that we have a problem in Barbados with crime. Now, we understand that we were pilloried by the Barbados Labour Party. In fact, I remember the last Attorney General calling on Adriel Brathwaite, who was the Attorney General, to resign because of the high rate of crime. And when he was asked to resign, he cried foul, because under him, serious crime in Barbados has not been at a higher level than now. We have murders that have doubled. And we have Barbadians feeling afraid to go outside and participate in their normal activity. We have said that crime will be among the priority areas. Fighting crime will be among the priority areas for the Democratic Labour Party. And our leader said we will bring to the statute books gang legislation, because there are gangs in Barbados. And he was very careful because, in fact, when we address the issue of crime, we know that the involvement of young people in crime, that they are the victims. Many of them are the victims of gangs. And I would tell you, as the former Minister of Youth, and this is where I tell you, sometimes you hear the Barbados Labour Party talking, and they talk very sweet. They got what they call sweet mouth, as we say in Barbados language. But when you have to look at the action, you don't see it. I always say that when you're talking about crime fighting, when I was Minister of Youth, we brought into being a number of programs to tackle crime among particularly young people in the urban areas. And those programs were paid for by you, the taxpayers of Barbados. They were designed to ensure that you can have early intervention, and they succeeded. They succeeded in lowering the incidence of crime, especially among young people. We increased the amount of money available to the Youth Development Program and the Barbados Youth Service. We increased the amount of money available to the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme. We increased the amount of money available to creatives and brought about legislation for the first time to grant incentives to the creative sector. All of that has been belittled and whittled away by the Barbados Labour Party. They came into office and ended those programs or reduced them. And today you have members of the creative sector in Barbados telling me that they can't get funding unless they can show up with a red shirt. In other words, you have to genuflect to the Barbados Labour Party to get any assistance in this country. And we in the Democratic Labour Party have to be the voice for the voiceless in this country. Because there's a lot of intimidation and victimization occurring every day in Barbados, and it is not new. I grew up in St. John and I understand what political victimization is all about. At that time, the Barbados Labour Party used to only know the people when election is called. And it's no different today. I witnessed through my own eyes ministers of the Barbados Labour Party government at the time walking up and down the streets of Gall Hill in St. John barefooted, including one particular minister of energy who was of the fairer complexion, walking up and down Gall Hill barefooted and in raggy clothes to try to fool Barbadians that, look, I am one of you. And I'm saying that there has been no change to that. I hope you remember Grinder's song, I can beat you with my ex. No, wait, name again, no? I feel we should play that song at some time in this campaign. No rice grain can't spread up my brain. Mr. T. I sing it loud and clear. And that song was a theme song because of the amount of mamagizing that the Barbados Labour Party is known for. And I wonder sometimes if people understand the true history of the Barbados Labour Party. The Barbados Labour Party has never stood up for working class Barbadians. It has never stood up for the poor and the downtrodden. It has only represented the interests of big business. It does not like to see small business thrive. It always wants to see you in a dependency relationship. And that is why come election, the only use that it has for young people is to give them money to influence the vote. That is clear Barbados Labour Party politics. And therefore it boggles my mind why people who have grown up in the true traditions of the Democratic Labour Party will be enticed to go and join the Barbados Labour Party. It boggles my mind because it tells me that the history of this country need to be rewritten. So I'm saying here tonight in Green Acres, in Golden Acres, sorry, that's another speech. In Golden Acres, because you know why I said green? Because the government got things green. But I'm saying to you that in spite of all the boast, some of them by the governor of the central bank about how much growth we've had and all that kind of stuff, you have to make a decision whether your interest in this election has been truly served by the Barbados Labour Party government. Whether your circumstances has been improved. Whether the rate of crime does not bother you and whether you're prepared to do something about it. And I'm saying to you that if you're prepared to do something about it in this constituency, then the only choice for you come the 11th of February is a man called Ryan Walters. I want you to start from 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't waste no time in this election. 5 o'clock in the morning. Go early. Line up at the polling station. No matter how long the lines are. Vote from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. for the Democratic Labour Party and Ryan Walters. You know what Errol Barrow used to say? Errol Barrow was faced with the same issues that we have today. He always used to say that the money is on the other side. The money is on the other side. And they will come and entice you with that money. We don't know the long term. We know what happens at election. But I want our young people to be bold and brave. Bold and brave. And you know, they talk about our young people. I have a lot of confidence in them. Because I know that come the 11th, they can try to entice you. And I'm telling you not to go there. And if they give you a gift, don't accept the gift. But take the gift and vote them out. Take the gift. I know the laws of Barbados are still what they are. But you know and I know what we're talking about. There's a lot of gifts happening. All of a sudden, you ain't getting the gifts during the year. You ain't getting the gifts during the last 7 years. But all of a sudden now you're being given all the gifts in the world. But I want you to make a statement in this constituency. I want you to reward the hard work of Ryan Walters. I want you to give him the opportunity to represent your interests in the House of Assembly. He has very accurately identified the critical issues that you face. And to a large extent, he has been walking and talking with you. And come the 11th of February, I want you to walk and talk with him as well. I want you to show him that you have the confidence that he bestows in you. And this is a time to stand up and fight for what is rightfully yours in this country. Don't be passive. These are no times for people who are passive. We have to be bold. And I promise you that on these platforms of the Democratic Labour Party, we are going to continue to raise the issues. We're not interested in any personal attacks on anybody. We know the issues. We know the things that have hurt you in this constituency and outside. And we are determined to make wrong things right. And I want you to help me to make wrong things right. So as I bring my presentation to an end, I want to say to you in this constituency of St. Michael Northwest, you have a vested interest to make your voice known in this election. Do not take it for granted. Accept all the marketing of the Barbados Labour Party, because they will market you. They will tell you that something is red when you know it is blue. I want you to ensure that come the 11th of February, you go out in your numbers. You go out in your numbers in this constituency and vote for a bright young man who will defend you. Vote for a man who will stand by your side. Vote for a man who is not afraid to confront the Barbados Labour Party, who has stood up in his Senate Wednesday after Wednesday, articulating the concerns of the poor and the downtrodden, the small businessmen and women of this country. And I have every confidence that come the 11th of February, you will vote in your number for Ryan Walters, and he will do you proud in the House of Assembly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless you.
I was so dumb when you come with rum and steal my ex from me. You come with big tricks, corn beef and biscuits, and rob my democracy. Look, I learned my lesson well. You can't trick me again. But no more ice cream, can't spell up my brain. Mr. D, I sing it loud and plain, and I sing it deep. Let me go, don't hold me. Let me go and fold me. Let me go, don't blindfold me. Let me go deep. Let me go, don't hold me. Let me go, I am in now to be free. I can whip your pants, I can make you dance. You can feel that I is an.
It is male, let me go, don't hold me. I want no time. First, let me thank you for your sterling presentation. But anybody whisper to you what is the cost of Curry Festa? He said not yet. Golden Acre, St. Michael Northwest. There are some painful situations happening in our country, and one of them that hurts the most is when I hear people say, I am voting. We are hearing so much talk about voter apathy, and it's because they are frustrated with the leadership that we have now, or lack of leadership. They were told or made to believe in 2018 that this land would be flowing with milk and honey for everybody. In 2022, in a second manifesto, we heard and we read promises after promises after promises. We were given the impression that money will be growing on trees and everybody can pick it and live happily ever after. We are on the verge of a third manifesto, and I think that that should be the biggest document that should be rejected by the people of Barbados, because you did not complete or covered promises in two, and now you're going to give us a third and ask you to give you another chance to do what? But I want to say something to those persons who have been frustrated at this time. Golden Acres, St. Stephen's Hill, St. Michael Northwest. Democracy is not just a word. It is a heartbeat. It is the power to shape our future, to decide who we are and where we are heading. But when we stay silent, when we don't vote, we are handing that power to someone else. We are letting others decide on the state of our hospitals, the prices of food on our tables, the safety in our streets, and the conditions of our roads. Think about it in the next few days. Poor health care, crippling costs, crime in our communities, potholes in our roads. And I want to ask any Barbados Labour Party, if they don't have any shame, you go in constituencies, you have to decide which hole you have to walk in or which hole you have to drive through. And they're walking up and down Barbados. In those conditions, if you jump over one, you're going to land in the next. So be careful. And they're walking up in Barbados asking, no shame, asking for people to vote for them. I asked a fella the other day if he arrived on a helicopter, land on the playing field and came down here, because he certainly can't drive up that road. We have seen over the last 7 years, billions borrowed. And I said earlier that they have mortgaged the children's future, our children's future. And our children are counting on us to make wise choices. And one of those decisions that we have to make in St. Michael Northwest is to elect Ryan Walters on February 11th. We got the pen. You have the pencil. You got the voice. And we together have the vote. Let us use it to demand accountability, transparency, and a better tomorrow. Vote on February 11th like our lives depend on it, because it does. Golden Acre, this is the moment. This is the time. This is the man you have been waiting to hear. This is the man all residents of St. Michael Northwest should hear. Coming next is a man who knows this constituency, not from reports, not from election season visits, but from lived experience. This man is down to earth, approachable, and deeply connected to the people from all walks of life. His love for people led him into elective politics. And since joining the Democratic Labour Party in 2018, he has become a voice, a national voice, on issues affecting Barbadians. He served as a vice president of the Democratic Labour Party from 2020 to 2023, and as a member of the party's executive from 2019 until 2023. On February 13, 2024, he was sworn in as an opposition senator. He grew up in Fernyhurst, Black Rock, St. Michael. And today he is committed to serving the people of St. Michael Northwest. He contested the 2022 general election and has worked consistently, faithfully, and relentlessly in this constituency before and since. Proof of his loyalty, dedication, and love for the people. His mission is clear and powerful, summed up in 4 words: people, purpose, passion, progress. Golden Acre, St. Stephen's Hill, St. Michael Northwest. Help me welcome the next Member of Parliament for St. Michael Northwest, Comrade Ryan Walters.
Tell your sons and daughters we voting Ryan Walters. For the representation we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Walters, Ryan Walters. For the representation we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Walters, Ryan Walters. Ryan bringing purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Yes, it's purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Realist politician in BIM any day, anyhow, anytime. Young people will always get through cause Ryan is youth inclined. Attentive to the needs of the people in the community. Never back down from a challenge, Walters is who we need. For the representation we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Walters, Ryan Walters. For the representation we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Walters, Ryan Walters. Ryan bringing purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Yes, it's purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. W-E-L-T-E-R-S, that's the man for St. Michael Northwest. 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 For the representation we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Walters, Ryan Walters. For the representation we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Walters, Ryan Walters. Ryan bringing purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Yes, it's purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. Purpose and passion, so progress got to happen. W-E-L-T-E-R-S, that's the man for St. Michael.
I just came from a powerful meeting in St. James South. And St. James South is ready. And I assure them that St. Michael Northwest is also ready. Let me thank the speakers that brought the message of the Democratic Labour Party tonight. I wasn't able to hear everybody, as I said, it was our previous meeting. But Comrade Stephen, he made my life and my job here tonight a little easier because he spoke about a critical issue of housing. So tonight I will shift gears and I will speak about an issue that not only affects the people of Golden Acre, the people of St. Stephen's, the people of Freehill, the people of Black Rock, the people of Ferniehouse, the people of Rosemont, the people of Brandon's, the people of Deacon's Farm, but all people in Barbados. And that topic, my friends, is the cost of living. There is a direct correlation between taxation and the spending power of people in the country. And this government in 2018 paraded up and down Barbados, telling you that you cannot tax yourself out of a recession. But there is a correlation between how much money you have in your pocket and how you are able to afford to pay your bills and to buy food. And this government has retreated to a position where they are saying that they cannot respond to the high cost of living in this country. They want you to believe that because it is a global phenomenon, that there is no response from a responsible government. But the Democratic Labour Party has a different view. And my view tonight is to share with you that the government itself over the last 7 years has contributed to the high cost of living in this country. And they must now not absent themselves from the responsibility of responding to the cry of the citizens when it comes to the high cost of living. In 2018, this government, within weeks of taking office, introduced the Health Services Contribution Levy. What does that mean? It means that every single worker that contributes to the National Insurance Scheme took home less money in their pockets. Increasing taxation and reducing the spending power of our workers. It is estimated that between 2018 and 2025, that the Health Services Contribution Levy, introduced by the Barbados Labour Party, raised at least 530 million Barbados dollars. That is 530 million Barbados dollars out of the pockets of workers in this country that would afford them the opportunity to buy goods, to pay for groceries, to send to school their children, and to survive, to run their households. But the government did not stop there. In 2018, the government also introduced a garbage and sewage contribution levy. More taxation. And between 2018 and now, the estimated revenue that the government took from households and small businesses across this island is estimated at 570 million Barbados dollars. Let us add it up. Over $1.1 billion alone, drawn from the hard-working people of this country and the households, small businesses across Barbados. And where has the money gone? Can you see how Barbados has developed? No. You can see how Barbados has not developed. They did not stop there. They introduced a fuel tax that would raise around $80 million a year, which meant that households between 2018 and 2025 would have contributed another $600 million in fuel tax. Are you listening to me? Do you understand that that is close to $2 billion in additional revenue? New taxes coming on the backs of our workers, on the backs of working class Barbadians, on the back of working class households, on our middle class, and on our small businesses in this country. And if you contrast that to the treatment of the big businesses who got their VAT written off, VAT that you paid in when you went to the supermarket, when you went to the appliance store, when you did your duty by contributing to the coffers of the government so that they could run the country. But remember the context in which I bring this information, because it shows that the government is directly contributing to the high cost of living because it has reduced your spending power. If you do not have the spending power, you cannot pay for the goods. And if the goods are going up every year, every month, every week, and your pay pack is getting smaller because of the government is taxing you, it means that you cannot afford the high cost of living. The government promised, Golden Acre, they promised that they would have reduced VAT in their 2018 manifesto. And they did not reduce the VAT. And the public at large has been asking for an ease in cost of living. And the one promise that could bring an ease is the promise they did not fulfill. The promise to reduce the value-added tax. In May of 2018, the rate of value-added tax was 17.5%. Today, almost 8 years after, the rate of VAT is 17.5% in this country. The one promise that could bring relief to you in the supermarket, to you when you buy goods and services in this country, the Barbados Labour Party did not uphold. Remember that when you go to the polls and you have a member of parliament or had a member of parliament that for the past 8 years sat on the back bench on his phone shopping on Shein during parliament. That is what you had. Never raising his voice on issues that concern you, that impact your households. Because the job of member of parliament is too big for him. You must relieve him of the stress of trying to understand the things that concern you and how they are supposed to be addressed. And all of the talk about he did this and did that, I know your lived reality. And your lived reality is opposite to his claims of a stellar record. They are better described in his own words as achievements. But Golden Acre, the leader of the Democratic Labour Party, has already signaled our intention to reduce VAT when we go to office. That is going to bring immediate relief to you so that you can have more spending power. You could add some meat onto your plate. You can go and bring out that hire purchase item. You can bring out that little car. You can advance yourselves and your family. You can buy an extra school uniform, an extra pair of socks that you don't have to come home and wash every 2 days. And you don't have to be done by a member of parliament office begging at his mercy. We are going to bring back dignity to the people. There is no dignity having to get a a letter to take for a job from a minister or MP. Not after you have been educated in this country. We need a civil service that is working without the interference of members of parliament. They have destroyed the civil service. Because now, for you to be recognized or acknowledged, you need to get a letter. How could you go to a government agency and apply for a job and they send you back and say you have to get a letter from the MP? To prove what? To prove that you voted for the Barbados Labour Party? No. That is not the Democratic Labour Party way. And it will never be the Democratic Labour Party way. But back to the VAT. Because if this government has stuck to its promise of reducing VAT, and if it had reduced the VAT by 2.5%, it would have meant that almost $900 million would have been circulated in the economy by you. You would have had more money in your pockets to do what? The things that you want to do. The things that allow you to function as an individual and a family. The things that bring you dignity. Dignity is what we are all about. The notion of having your own money, but not this Barbados Labour Party government. They put every obstacle in place, and they have not responded to your cries and attack this high cost of living. And I say to you tonight that they have contributed to the high cost of living. I remember in September of 2023, the price of gasoline at the pump went to $4.22 per litre. The highest in decades that consumers had to pay. That you that went and get a little loan to bring out that vehicle had to put in the pump. A lot of people could not even fill up their vehicles. And the government held this price at the pump for 15 consecutive months. Although the price of oil on the world market was going down and down and down and down. Because the government does not care about you. And they do not care about attacking this high cost of living. Because this is another example of a government intervention that was a snap of the finger. And when they talk about the BLP versus the DLP, well, let me tell them and let me inform you that the Democratic Labour Party in 2008, when they came to office, they fixed the Barbados National Oil Company. And they made sure that when the price of oil globally came down, that the price at the pump came down. And if it went up a little bit, the price went up a little bit. But when it came down, it came down. And this Barbados Labour Party government moved away from that policy. And for 15 straight months, they did not change the price at the pump. Although the price internationally dropped and dropped and dropped. And my rough calculation tells me that between this September 2023 and December 2024, when the government froze the price at the pump for gasoline at $4.22 per litre, that they raised an additional $40 million. Again, that is money that is coming out of our pockets. Oh, geez, Dawn Bread, give us an ease. The best ease now is to give us an ease from government. I am urging you to elect the members of the Democratic Labour Party to form your next government so that we can deal with these issues. They cannot be trusted. I am calling the numbers to show you how much money this government has had at its disposal and what have they done that benefits you. Look at the state of these housing units here. After wasting $60 million on hope with little or no houses to produce, after sending millions of dollars to Trinidad to bring in prefabricated wooden homes, that when they reach our shores, that they were like a puzzle, pieces were missing as well. After committing over $30 million more in taxpayers' money to put up prefabricated wall structures rather than putting our young men on the block and our small contractors to work. These are the type of things this government has done, and you are paying daily for it. The numbers are important to give you context of the amount of wastage and corruption in this administration. But they didn't stop there as it relates to contributing to the high cost of living. They did not. Because, like it or not, we are in a working class community. This constituency has four housing estates: Golden Acre, Rosemont, Dickens Farm, and Ferneyhurst, where he grew up. But the government, in one swoop, in 2018, increased bus fares from $2 to $3.50. And it meant that our working class persons were significantly affected. So much so that a lot of them had to give up the jobs because it did not make sense catching 2 buses to work, 2 buses back home, paying for food based on that one initiative, which again, what did it do? Increase the cost of living to the residents of Golden Acre and to the citizens of this country, reducing your spending power. But don't think it's just St. Michael Northwest that was affected. The Labour Force Survey at October 2018 said that 51,500 workers earned less than $500 a week in 2018. So you can imagine carrying home those sort of wages and being slapped in your face with this government. Higher bus fares, higher water bills, higher gas bills, reduction in your pay with the health services contribution levy, and you have to survive in this country. And the government is saying that inflation is imported. Inflation was not imported because we also had an inflated government. Moving from less than 18 ministers to 26 ministers in 2018. Everybody got a little work. All the members of parliament got significant amounts of money. And imagine you now have senior ministers. This is how the government has spent your hard-earned taxes. This is why the need to increase taxation to satisfy their own personal standard of living, to ensure that they can employ their friends as consultants. But let us examine your reality. of housing infrastructure falling apart. Roads that have been poorly reconstructed. And imagine there was a time in this country when we repaved roads, when we fixed roads. Now we have a situation where persons are being paid to dig up the road, reuse the material, and put it back down the same night. And that when the rain falls too hard, it is in the same condition as it was 3 months prior. And they now have to be redoing roads at a faster pace. Who is this benefiting? Not you, who have to pay the high taxes. Not you, who have to use those roads and repair for shocks and tires and the maintenance on your vehicles. Look at the state of the schools in this constituency. What do they have to justify receiving close to $2 billion over the last 7 years in new taxes? Look at the state of our hospital, my friends. People sleeping on the floor. Not enough beds. Not enough nurses. Not enough consultants. And persons are now dying in an AAE where the only improvement is that it has new walls. But persons do not feel any safer in that facility. Furthermore, it seems to be the worst place to go if you are ill. Imagine, after collecting so much revenue, after increasing your bus fares, promising that they would manage the transport board in terms of bringing down its cost, bringing in a fleet of electric vehicles, begging for electric vehicles. No, they have a situation where after all of that, they are going to sell off the transport board. But what is it going to do to the people of Golden Acre who have to catch a bus after 7 p.m. at night to get home from work or to go down to Chanel supermarket? What does this do to you when you cannot get a bus to get home after hours because it is not financially profitable for a private entity to run the bus at those hours? The Democratic Labour Party has already signaled that we will not divest the transport board. It is a public good and we will maintain it. We will seek to improve it, not to give it away to private entities whose only motive is to make a return on their investment. Our return on our investment is to make sure our young people can get to and from work, that our pensioners can get to the clinic, that we can move around this country not having to fear that bus fares will go up in 3 months or 6 months or even a year because they are already too high. So that is what the Democratic Labour Party is offering. And those are just a couple areas that are low-hanging fruit that we can fix right away and that we have pledged even before the election to address. I want you to challenge the outgoing Member of Parliament on what are his thoughts on the reduction of VAT. What are his thoughts on the selling off of the transport board? What are his thoughts about the state of the schools and the roads in this constituency? He has written many letters to all ministries to get things done in this constituency. And all have been ignored. The only letter he should write to you is a thank you letter. That is the next letter he needs to write. A thank you letter to the residents of St. Michael Northwest for allowing him the opportunity to supposedly serve them. But he is a failure. And it's not a personal attack. I don't need to attack him personally. I don't need to refer to him as AKA, also known as, because he wouldn't like what people will have to say. We are dealing with the issues on this campaign trail. Golden Acre, you could expect in your mailboxes within the coming week a plan that I have for you. A plan that serves the needs of persons within your households. A plan that is realistic and that will focus on our youth, our workers, our pensioners, and our elders. And we will be bringing that plan as we continue on our campaign trail. But look out for the document. As it relates to housing, only to give context again, and to show you the amount of money that has been mismanaged by this government. Because I heard the Prime Minister saying, Oystins, that they have a little red book that gives you all the facts on their performance. But I am giving you the real facts on their performance, not what they have compiled to mislead you. Because in the Ministry of Housing, I can guarantee you that that government ministry has misappropriated close to $100 million. $100 million. You remember the steel frame homes? You remember the steel frame homes after Hurricane Elsa? When I, as spokesperson on small business, argued that our small contractors, laborers, and artisans should rebuild Barbados, and Mayor Motley administration decided to import steel frame homes from China. And then somebody formed a company and they imported these steel frame homes at a cost that was supposed to be $22.59 million. Do you know what the cost ended up being? Do you know what the cost ended up being? It ended up being close to 60 million Barbados dollars. 60. So you go from $22.5 million to close to $60 million. That is the record of the Barbados Labour Party. And all of the houses are not rebuilt. And steel frames are in a container somewhere in St. Philip, rusting. And the government now enters another contract with another company from Guyana to build steel frame homes. Is that the sort of government that you want in office? A government that utilizes the funds of taxpayers to mismanage and misappropriate. Because up to now, we have not had the financial audit of hope. We have not had the inquiry from the Prime Minister, as she promised, and we have not had audited financials from hope. So something is not right. All we have is the firing or resignation of a former minister of Housing and Lands. So your decision is clear. You have a choice to vote for someone who will represent your concerns, but who understands your concerns and who is willing to fight for you, not someone who sits in the back on their phone and does not understand the intricacies of governance and government, and who does not understand the implications of bad decisions to the citizens that he intends to represent. One decision, and that decision is to vote for the Democratic Labour Party on February 11th. You have Pedro Graves in St. James South. If you have family and friends, tell them vote for Pedro Graves. You have James Paul in St. Michael West Central. You have Damien Fannis in St. Michael West. You have Dawn Marie Armstrong in St. Michael North. You have Andrea Worrell in St. Michael Central. All bordering constituencies. And we know that there's a relationship between St. Michael Northwest and all of the bordering constituencies. So talk to your friends and talk to your family and let them know that the Democratic Labour Party has a new, young, vibrant team. A new, young, vibrant team of candidates, young men and women who will carry Barbados forward and who will look after their interests. We have a Barbados first agenda, and that means we have a people first agenda. We will protect our workers. We will fight for dignity for our households. That when you lock that door on a morning, that you feel a sense of pride. A sense of pride that you own something. I will never, ever, ever come to you to ask you for a vote and to tell you that if you vote for me, I'm going to give you your house. I will never do that. Because that is what the MP outgoing is doing. Trying to make you believe that he has the power to give you a house. But the power has already been passed to you because we have legislation that says after 20 years and your rent is paid up and everything is okay, that you will be the true and rightful owner of a property in this country. So we have done our due. It is only for us now to make sure that happens. He cannot promise you what he does not have. But we will bring dignity back to St. Michael Northwest. We will have a constituency office that is opened. Open to hear your concerns. And we are not concerned with if you voted or not. We want you to vote. We are not concerned with if you had on a red shirt during the election. We are concerned with representing the needs of every single constituent. I implore you to join the team. Join the team of yellow. Join the team that will represent you, that will represent your needs, that you can trust, that you can depend on, that will stand up for you. Because right now there's no one else standing up for you. There are a group of people hoping that they will put on a red shirt and that Mayor Motley will walk through the constituency and hug them up. Because that's the only way they think they will be elected. That is what you have across Barbados, in this constituency and in all other 28 constituencies, that they will wait for the Prime Minister to walk with them and tell people, vote for this person, vote for that person. You have your own mind. You know your lived reality. You know what they have not done and what they have done to disenfranchise you and to disenfranchise your household. They brag up and down about minimum wage. And no one will take away the fact that we have a minimum wage in this country. But what they will not tell you is that they have allowed the private sector to follow their lead and put you on a contract. So you have no dignity. I tell you, the Democrat Labour Party is going to bring back the dignity. You have no dignity even if you have a job. Because your job now is reliant on you going in front of a member of parliament every 6 months. And I know for sure, I have people that has testified to me that the outgoing MP went on job sites and fired people. How can an MP fire somebody, take away their livelihood because a person stood up for himself? And that is why the civil service is important. The MP don't give you no job. I know MP cannot take it away. But this government has encouraged the private sector to put you on contract and they could do whatever they like with you. 6-month contract, 12-month contract, send you home for 2 months, bring you back. And you have to do these things because you want the little money to pay the bills. So I invest for you all. But I am saying the Democratic Labour Party will bring that to a halt. We are going to bring back dignity and pride from owning your home to having a job. Because when you walk in to that retail outlet and you want to get a little bed or a little stove or a little settee or a little TV, you can get it. And you don't have to go to those places that are going to charge you exorbitant rates. You can go to the credit union with your job slip. Dignity we are going to bring back. So, Golden Acre, St. Michael Northwest, all those who can hear me, whether live or online, the Democratic Labour Party is back. We are ready to fight for you, and we have a plan for you. This campaign is now getting warmed up. It will become exciting. Listen to the Barbados Labour Party when they come and tell you a bunch of rubbish. I want to listen to them and match that against what the Democratic Labour Party will bring to you as sound proposals for you and your families. Because they have been tried and tested and they have failed. 2 terms. 2 terms and nothing to show. Nothing to show you. Roads the same. Schools the same. Hospital the same. Everything the worse then. Sorry, my friends. But only a few of them benefiting from the largesse. So I thank you. I thank you for your support. I thank you for coming out tonight. I want to implore you to join with us on the campaign trail. Listen to the message of the Democratic Labour Party. Embrace the candidates across all constituencies. We are behind Ralph Thorne, our new leader and next Prime Minister of Barbados. A man that is fighting for you. That is making sure that you are on that voters list come February 11th. Do not take it for granted. Friends, neighbors, comrades, thank you and good night.
Young people will always get through cause Ryan is youth inclined. Attentive to the needs of the people in the community. Never back down from a challenge. Walters is who we need. For the representation we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Walters, Ryan Walters. For the representation we voting for Ryan, yeah. Ryan Walters, Ryan Walters. Ryan bringing purpose and passion, so progress gotta happen. Yes, it's purpose and passion, so progress gotta happen. Purpose and passion, so progress gotta happen. Purpose and passion, so progress gotta happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the next representative of St. Michael Northwest, Ryan Walters. Here are some housekeeping matters before I bid you good night. I need you to listen carefully. You are invited to join us in Bridge Gap on Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Come up with your numbers and hear the message and the gospel according to the Democratic Labour Party and support our candidate Ryan Walters. I also want to encourage you tonight to take as many people. Do not leave your residence. Do not leave your constituency unless you have an entourage with you heading to Oistins as we meet the next Prime Minister of Barbados, Ralph Torn, and 29 candidates at the presentation to be held in Oistins tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. So we need all of you to be there. Let us paint Oistins yellow. Let us paint Oistins yellow. And listen carefully to this as we wrap up. We have had a serious meeting tonight which articulated the issues as they will unfold in the coming few days and few weeks. So here's the call for the love of Barbados, for your children's future, your own tomorrow. Get out and vote. Golden Acre, get out and vote for Ryan Walters on February 11th. Invest in Barbados. Invest in hope. Invest in opportunity. Invest in a better life. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Travel safely and get home safe and have a good night.
What's the latest on the Constitution? About the transport board, you ain't say not ton. Why your ministers can't fix the hospital? And when will we get an auditor general? What about the issue what's heavy on the bay? And will we ever see the Hyatt building bout here? Should we hope to hear about the hope money? Or how much Carafesta cost the treasury? Yeah. Look, Prime Minister, we know that you know your administration has been extremely poor. They're trying to hold